Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter. Thanks, Martha. Good morning to everybody joining us on the live stream this morning. I hope you also have bunny ears on or some other way of celebrating this morning. Hello, everybody looking so colorful out here in the congregation. My name is Alex Kolaitzi. I am the director of music here at UU Miami. This morning, our first hymn, our soul singing, will be number 38, Morning Has Broken. Please feel free to have a stand and sing along with your mask on. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where God's feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
Good morning! Yeah! All right. And good morning to you too online. I know you can't go like this, we can't see you do that, but do that anyway. It's fun. Welcome to our multi-platform space here at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Miami, or as we affectionately call it, UU Miami. As a member of the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, we bring a liberal religious voice to the great city of Miami. I am Reverend Tom Capo, and I am the minister here at UU Miami, and I use the pronouns he, him, and his. And on the chancel with me, as you know, is our music director, Alex Kolaitzi. Yes, it's fabulous. And Joseph Taleda, who is, you've heard and will hear, will play amazing music this morning. We care about one another and want everyone to remain safe, so we continue to ask you to wear your mask while you're in the sanctuary. This is an expression of love and safety that we share with one another. UU Miami wants to acknowledge that we gather on the traditional lands of the Miccosukee, Tequesta, and Seminole people and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who stewarded it for generations. May we continue to learn how to be better stewards of the land that we now inhabit. UU Miami is a community of brave, curious, and compassionate thinkers and doers, and we invite you to get to know us if you don't already know us. You can go to our Facebook page, our Instagram, our LinkedIn, our web pages, or you can talk to me or people with bunny ears on, or there are lots of people you can talk to. Or you can send me an email at minister@uumiami.org if you'd like to sit and chat. I found out something fascinating this week. Every 33 years, the sacred religious holy days of Ramadan, Passover, and Easter occur at the same time. And this is one of those years. So I want to wish everyone a happy Easter, a blessed Passover, and a generous Ramadan. While many Unitarian Universalists have Easter brunches or egg hunts or Easter baskets, all of which may be in this room, Many Unitarian Universalists wrestle with the belief in Jesus' resurrection from the dead. I want to explore today what meaning Unitarian Universalists might find in Easter. If you would be so kind as to join me in our unison affirmation, which is now up in front of you here. I'll do it first in English, and then Joseph will generously come up and do it in Spanish. Love is the spirit of this faith, and service is its prayer. In love we agree to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another.
El amor es el espíritu de nuestra fe y el servicio es su oración. En amor acordamos vivir unidos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en libertad y ayudarnos el uno al otro.
Lighting a chalice is a ritual we have at the beginning of each of our services. It's to affirm that we're here together and to begin this exploration that is our service, and that we are a community connected beyond these walls. Our chalice lighting words were written by Unitarian Universalist Reverend Dilman Baker Sorrells. For holy days, on which we recall the old stories, we light this flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light this flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light this flame. For Ramadan, which reminds us to empathize with those less fortunate than ourselves, we light this flame. For gathering today in this sacred space as a community, we light this flame. For the opportunity to be together, to remember the past, to plan for the future, and to be alive in the present.
Oh, sorry, there we go. Just as we started last week, we will sing the children out. Children and teens, you are welcome to find your way to the back where Carly is and where Chris will be in just a second. Congregation, here you'll see projected for you is the children's blessing that we'll sing. May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace. The following was written by Reverend Mike Johnson. Besides being a Unitarian Universalist minister, she is an earth activist in Portland, Maine, practicing and teaching ecological spirituality. In the book Saving Paradise, theologians Rita Nakashima Brock and Rebecca Parker write about a force in the history of Christianity, a force that moved against domination on behalf of equality and interconnection. In researching the visual world of Christianity, of early Christian worship, Brock and Parker found a beautiful mosaic, a deep green meadow under a blue sky, flowers, a tree with 4 rivers flowing from its roots spreading out over the land. There were sheep in the meadow and a figure of a man who was the shepherd of the sheep, with a kind and radiant face turned toward the people. There were men and women, all with radiant faces, each one holding in their hands a laurel wreath crown. Each week, as a part of early Christian worship, after the readings and hymns, after the sermon and prayers, there was a communal potluck feast for all the members of the church. As people sat down together, those of the upper class sat next to workers and servants. Special attention was given to widows and the children and to all the elders. At this Holy Communion meal, all brought what they had to share and partook of its bounty together. According to Brock and Parker's research, this would have been the experience of Christians in the early centuries of Christianity. Most people were unable to read, but the symbolism of the images around them would be immediately apparent. The Garden of Eden, the original paradise. The tree in the meadow was the tree of life, described in the book of Genesis. At the center of this early Christian worship was a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. He was the radiant man tending the sheep, the good shepherd, a living presence in their midst. They believed that by his resurrection, he had restored the original paradise and reestablished the presence of the divine spirit within the whole created earth. These gatherings helped them to remember that love was stronger than empire and that heaven was possible here on earth.
And those of you online, there it is. You will notice this QR code, and I invite you to take out your smartphone and point it at it, and you can donate, if you'd like, to UU Miami donation page. Or you can just go to uumiami.org and click the donate button. As for those in the sanctuary, there will be a basket passed around for your donation, or if you want to click your phone at the little QR code right now, you could do that and do the same. A lot of people do different things. Today, you'll have the opportunity to not only donate to this congregation, but also to PACT, People Acting in Community Together. PACT is a Miami-based grassroots organizing nonprofit. They work on issues that are important to the Miamians. PACT unites, organizes, and trains leaders in diverse congregation, schools, and community to build a powerful community voice. Individually and collectively, they are empowered to hold public officials accountable and achieve systemic change, promote fairness, justice, and democracy in Miami-Dade. We'll be splitting the plate with them this morning. This congregation is sacred to so many of us, a community of memory and of hope. Let there be an offering to sustain and strengthen this place and the work we do in the world, for we are now the keepers of the dream. The following Easter meditation was written by Unitarian Universalist Reverend Samuel A. Trumbore. Sam is a friend of mine. I met him years ago at General Assembly at the Unitarian Universalist Buddhist Fellowship. And you have to understand, Sam sees things through those eyes, but also through the eyes of nature. And so as we listen to this meditation, I ask you to remember that for many North Americans, spring is a different experience than it is here in Miami. I guess you all knew that, huh? Winter, there is ice and cold and, and snow, and the spring you have the dormant and dead vegetation coming back to life, blooming and greening. These are the images that many people, as they write about Easter, tend to write about. And same is true for Sam. So let us enter into a time of prayer or meditation. Each of us may have our own way to do that. Some may take a deep, slow breath to center themselves. Some may sit with their hands clasped, their eyes closed. Their head may be facing up or down or whatever feels right to be open to this time of reflection and contemplation. Eternal Spirit, we witness green growth throwing out tiny tendrils seeking support, sprouting thin twigs reaching for the bright golden sun, guiding new tubers seeking water in dark, sandy soil. Be in and amongst us this Easter morning. We gather this morning to celebrate the triumph of life over death. The body can be killed, but the spirit cannot be quenched. Only yesterday had we given up all hope of the promise of coming of a divine realm, and today we are renewed and inspired as we realize it now already exists here. This morning we remember that pain, suffering, and death are not ends, but can be scary, underground passageways to more abundant life. If we have the courage to face our fear and crawl through to be pushed and pulled by the mind-narrowing forces of lust and hate and confusion, this Easter morning, we renew our dedication to act from our love rather than our fear. We renew our faith in the inherent worth and dignity of all humanity, including ourselves, which cannot be removed from anyone. And we seek the nerve to face the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune which may come our way. In moments of defeat and surrender, may we turn from the paths of revenge, denial, and cynicism. May we remember the eternal truth spun into the web of life. Our wounds can become sacred incarnational teachings of the wisdom embedded in the story of resurrection. Let us celebrate together this morning the one who never gives up even in the darkest night of winter, our blue-green planet Earth, resurrected anew each spring. Blessed be.
As the choir makes their way up to the front, our special music this morning will be Shine on Me, arranged by Rallo Dilworth. This is a gospel tune that has two main parts to it that I hope you'll listen for. The first part, the words go, shine on me, I wonder if the lighthouse will shine on me. The second part is a light shining above, is it shining above in the heavens for me? And later in the song, those two parts come together. So that's your assignment to listen for as we sing the special music.
Good to have a choir and a lovely singing choir. Oh my goodness. Oh, well, I'd like to start by saying this morning that, we have these three different holy days, at the same time, Ramadan and Passover and Easter. And so this week, I had the opportunity to go to an open house at the Kindle Mosque and broke Ramadan fast after evening prayer with the members of that faith community. As I watched them, and they encouraged us to watch the prayers, and they gave us a little booklet that showed what all the meanings were of all the different rituals and body positions and prayers. It made me think about us, Unitarian Universalists, and how we draw wisdom and spirituality from sources as diverse as science, poetry, scripture, and personal experience. And the world's traditions, the world's religious and spiritual traditions, offer much to us as we search for truth and meaning. The stories and myths they offer are rich for those seeking meaning and purpose from their own life experience, and for those seeking discernment in how to live an ethical and or spiritual life. In some ways, Unitarian Universalists are fortunate to draw from so many diverse traditions. But sometimes I think we get lost in so many traditions, so many philosophies, so many experiences. It's easy to accept the superficial and cultural meanings given to us about the stories and myths and histories and philosophies of science and poetry, rather than delve more deeply into a few of them ourselves. I tend to believe it is better to go deeper into a few stories or philosophies or ideas than to stay in the shallow end, the philosophical or spiritual shallow end of the pool. I think that by taking a few stories or myths or ideas and we look at them each year, as many religious calendars do, there's an opportunity there for us to notice how we've changed, how our meanings have changed, if our beliefs have changed, if our values have changed over the past year, living through what all we have to live through in this world. All that is thrown at us, if you will. As we explore Easter, for instance, we might examine how early Christians responded to, studied, and incorporated the story into their lives to discern how to live their values in the world. Or we might take a look at the teachings of Easter after the 9th century, when it changed from focusing on Jesus' resurrection to Jesus hanging on the cross and the symbolism of his torture and death. Or we might focus on how many of the practices and images we associate with Easter, eggs and bunnies and bunny ears, come from pagan religious traditions. Some historians believe Easter eggs come from the Anglo-Saxon festivals in the spring to celebrate the pagan goddess Oestra, the goddess who may or may not have been the namesake of Easter. She represented the dawn in the spring. Eggs were being buried during those rituals, sort of like our Easter egg hunts where we hide and seek eggs. And then they dug up the eggs and ate them during the festival. That may sound a little gross, but it's okay. They're still in the shell and all, so it was good. So let me share, as you think about what Easter means to you, I want to share this reading. There's also another reading by Mike Johnson from one you heard earlier. Decolonization is about learning the stories of our history and rejecting the beliefs and practices that involve domination, conquest, and subjugation. But decolonization also includes uncovering the liberating threads we might find in the midst of the forces of domination. The stories of the early Christians around a communal meal are stories that give me hope. So how do we decolonize the many religious and spiritual traditions, including our own, to uncover the liberating threads we might find amidst the forces of domination, conquest, subjugation? Let's look at Easter, because after all, today is Easter. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is to look within yourselves. And I'm going to ask you a few questions. And I just want you to notice what bubbles up within you as I ask you these questions. What stories, feelings, or beliefs do you hold about Easter? Where do they come from? Why do you hold on to them? What images and traditions do you affirm or practice in your life about this Christian holy day? And why do you affirm and practice them? Do you practice them because they're what you've been taught growing up? Or because of cultural pressure that you see images all around you? Or because they bring you joy and feel connected to something larger than yourself? Perhaps they elicit positive memories. Maybe continue to elicit positive memories for you. What I want to ask of you after the service today is to share with one another some of the answers to these questions, because I think there's value in that. We share our own journeys with one another, why we choose to do what we do, why we pass things on to our children, why it's important. Does it bring us joy? If I'm going to ask you to do that, I guess I should too. So I want to start with Easter egg hunts. They were a joyful experience in my household. It was never clearly explained why we had Easter egg hunts or how they related to our Catholic beliefs. But hunting eggs and eating chocolate bunnies were ingrained into our lives. My mother still colors Easter eggs to this day. She's 85 and wants somebody to hunt them. She's having difficulty finding people to hunt them now because we're all adults and our kids are all adults and there are no grandkids yet. So this year what she did, and she just told me this yesterday, she's going to get my 26-year-old nephew's new girlfriend to hunt the eggs this year because she's new to the family. I don't know what she's going to do next year. So today, as I reflect on this egg-centric tradition, I think about some research on its origins from the pagan tradition, and I smile. I no longer have to twist my mind around trying to make sense of egg hunting and eating chocolate bunnies from a Catholic point of view. I can embrace this tradition of feasting and affirmation of spring from its genuine historical roots. And I can celebrate our blue-green planet Earth resurrected anew each spring. And that brings me joy. In addition to not having to twist my mind around, I no longer have to accept some of the Christian beliefs and practices that involve domination, conquest, and subjugation. Growing up Catholic, and I'm maybe many of you haven't been in a Catholic church recently or ever. As you enter the sanctuary for many Catholic churches, and it was true in my church as well, the first thing you saw was an enormous cross, and nailed to it was a giant Jesus. He wore a crown of wickedly sharp thorns and had a cut, a long stab wound in his side. And his head was down, hanging, dead. Right over the altar. I have to say, every time I walked into the church, while I felt a connection to something larger, I never really had a positive feeling at looking at this image. And it wasn't just in my church, it's in Catholic churches all over. Martha and I visited a Catholic church in New Mexico, and they had a life-size crypt with Jesus in it, bloody and cut up and, scrunched into this little space, dead. The focus on Jesus' torment and death is not a story I want to go deeper into. At least for me, the death is more about domination and subjugation than celebration and joy. However, I really do resonate with the story of resurrection. Not the horrible death and resurrection to absolve people of their original sin. That wasn't even a part of the early Christian beliefs. But resurrection of paradise on earth. I see each spring plants and flowers bloom and creatures return. And there's so much beauty around me. When I was living in Cedar Rapids, I was just enamored with the fireflies that would come out in the spring, and it's just a beautiful sight. And it's not just about the beauty and the return of nature, but I can relate to the story of resurrection from a more personal, emotional point of view. When I've gone through a very difficult and painful experience. When my father died, for instance, I had hope that I could make it through that time, because I had before, and I would again. I would have this period of pain and loss and mourning, but I could get through it. And I would feel alive again and fully engaged with life after a period that felt like death. There are certainly other rebirth stories that I could offer from my own personal experience, as I've gone through that sense of emotional death and pain and loss and felt myself resurrected or rebirth. This is a universal story of the very human condition that I believe we all have, and we all will probably have again. And so as I think about the story of Jesus' resurrection, to me it's about the emotional resurrection we all can go through as we face loss and pain and hurt. And, re-experiencing that each year as Easter rolls around, is an emotional touchstone for me. to see where I am and how I'm doing, where I am on that journey through pain and loss to healing, and hope, and rebirth. As I consider what I hold on to from this Easter story and what I let go of, I invite you to do the same. For me, it's unnecessary to throw the baby, in this case Easter, out with the bathwater, all the troublesome beliefs and traditions surrounding Easter. So I invite you, explore what meaning there is for you in this story. What brings you joy this time of year? Consider what stories you resonate with, or what parts of which stories you resonate with as you go deeper into them. And maybe you, like the early Christians, will find the story of Jesus' resurrection an affirmation that love is stronger than empire, that heaven is possible here on earth, at least occasionally, or perhaps briefly, but it is possible, but not in some afterlife. I want to end the sermon with a portion of the Christian Easter story, when Mary Magdalene sees Jesus after the resurrection. And what I invite you to do is to listen. Notice what resonates with you, what you want to explore more deeply. Don't look for what you reject and don't want to bring into your life. You probably already know about that. But what touches you? What might be something that is of value to you in this short passage? But Mary stood weeping outside the tomb, and as she wept, she stopped to look into the tomb. And she saw two angels in white sitting where the body of Jesus had lain, one at the head and one at the feet. And they said to her, "Why are you weeping?" And she told them, "Because they have taken away my Lord, and I do not know where they have laid him." Saying this, she turned around and saw Jesus standing, but she didn't know it was Jesus. And Jesus said to her, "Why are you weeping? Whom do you seek?" Supposing he was the gardener, she said, "Sir, if you've carried away the body, tell me where you have laid him, and I will take him away." And Jesus said, "Mary." And she turned, suddenly recognizing him, and said, "Rabboni," which means teacher.
Our final hymn today is number 1000, Morning Has Come. Please feel free to stand in body or spirit and sing along. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope that shines upon each face, may it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Oh, that's a lovely hymn. Well, we say thanks for many things in this congregation. It's part of how we build our community. And so I want to thank Steve Snyder, and we have a new person working with us today, Sergio Cruz. You'll meet him as he wanders around, I'm sure. He's helping with our live streaming. And of course, Steve always cares for our lovely campus, which is getting lovelier by the moment. Joseph Toledo, who are, I don't know what I can say. Woo! And Alex, and the choir, thank you all so much. Amazing, amazing. And Beazle Evoy and Janice MacArthur are providing us lunch today. And finally, thank you for being here. And it always feels good to be in your company, whether you're here in person or virtually. Please keep an eye out for our newsletter. Share your thoughts on our Facebook page. You can visit our website, all of our social media, learn what's going on, and feel free to attend anything. After lunch today, there'll be a drum circle. You play the drums, stay after, or you don't play the drums, or you don't even have a drum. Stay, play. Anybody can play, no experience. There's going to be lunch. If you have a donation of $5, that's great. If you don't, please enjoy lunch. Next week, we're going to have amazing musical service. Alex, the choir, Joseph, all going to put something together for us to celebrate Earth Day. You may get to sing Blue Boat Home. You may hear What a Wonderful World. You may hear some readings about Earth Day. It should be a wonderful time. And next week after the service, we'll be hearing a presentation by Mark Mitchell from Chainless Change. He's working with helping those who've been impacted by the criminal justice system. And we'll have a progressive Democrat for Congress coming and talking with us about what's of interest to us, what issues are important to us. So please come. Now, look around, please. Look around at everybody who's here. Look around. Look around. See, this is everybody. Hey, everybody. This is our community. This is who we are together. Please reach out to some of these folks as we after the service, talk with them, tell them what you thought of the service, tell them what you think about Easter. Let's talk, okay? Get to know each other. And all of you online, you are part of this community too. Please feel free to chat, send us email. You are part of this community. Keep in touch. And now, as our service comes to an end, I offer these words. We've all known loss and pain, but let us not be divided by it. In the rising sun today and every day, let us remember that love is stronger than empire and that heaven is possible here on earth and in our lives. So may it be.